Welcome back to World Information HD, the channel where we uncover the hidden stories behind everyday things. Today, we're diving into a tiny object with unbelievable potential, the humble 1-cent piece. But not just any penny, we're talking about the iconic Lincoln Wheat Penny, minted in the United States between 1909 and 1958. On the surface, it's just a penny, Abraham Lincoln on the front, 2 wheat stalks on the back. Yet, thanks to minting quirks, rare dates, and historic errors, some of these little coins have exploded in value. Coins once worth a few cents are now selling for hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars. Yahoo! In this video you'll discover the top 13 rare Lincoln Wheat Pennies that serious collectors hunt for, why they're so valuable, how to spot them in your change jar, and what one might be hiding in your own pocket. So get ready, you might be looking at a fortune in your hand. Let's begin at number 13. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of one of America's most iconic coins, the 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark. This simple copper coin, which many people have unknowingly spent or tossed aside over the years, has a story to tell. And if you have one in your possession, it could be worth a small fortune, depending on its condition, rarity, and hidden errors that lie beneath its surface. So stay with me till the end, because you'll want to hear just how much this coin can be worth. Let's go back in time, all the way to the early 1940s. The year is 1941. The United States is on the brink of entering World War II. Factories across the nation are ramping up production for military supplies, and the country is buzzing with both uncertainty and determination. Amidst all this chaos, the U.S. Mint continues its routine operations, producing millions upon millions of coins to keep the economy running smoothly. Among those coins were the humble Lincoln Wheat Pennies, 1-cent pieces that were never expected to become collectors' treasures. The 1941 Lincoln cent was part of a beloved series that had been circulating since 1909, featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the classic wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity. This design had already become an American icon, representing both simplicity and strength during the country's most trying years. Now, when we talk about the 1941 Lincoln penny, it's important to note that this was a time before the United States Mint started marking coins in every location. Coins produced in Philadelphia carried no mint mark at all. That's right, if your 1941 penny has no letter beneath the date, it means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. While Philadelphia produced the largest number of pennies that year, more than 887 million, not every one of them is the same. Some are common and worth only a few cents, while others are rare, collectible, and surprisingly valuable. But what separates an ordinary 1941 penny from one that could fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars? The secret lies in its condition, errors, and historical charm. Let's break that down. First, condition. Coin collectors, or numismatists as they're known, use a grading scale to determine a coin's condition. On this scale, coins range from poor, which is barely recognizable, to mint state, which means it looks exactly as it did the day it was struck, no scratches, no wear, and full detail. The shinier and more flawless your 1941 penny is, the more valuable it becomes. If you happen to find a 1941 no mint mark penny that still glows with its original copper red color, sharp details in Lincoln's hair and coat, and crisp lettering around the edges, then congratulations, you might just be holding something special. Even lightly circulated coins can fetch a few dollars, but those in pristine, uncirculated condition can go for much, much more. Next, let's talk about mint errors, the fascinating mistakes that turn ordinary coins into rare collectibles. During the 1940s, the minting process was not as automated or precise as it is today. Occasionally, coins would come out with double strikes, off-center images, clipped edges, or even die cracks, small raised lines caused by a fractured die. These imperfections make each coin unique and highly sought after by collectors. One of the most famous errors on the 1941 penny is the double die. In this error, parts of the coin's design appear doubled. You might notice 2 dates, 2 sets of letters, or even a shadow effect on Lincoln's profile. Collectors go crazy for these kinds of coins, and depending on how strong the doubling is, they can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Now, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. Why this coin holds such nostalgic and historical significance. 1941 was a turning point in American history. People were dealing with the aftermath of the Great Depression, the looming threat of global war, and the uncertainties of a changing world. The penny was more than just small change, it was a symbol of resilience. For many Americans, it represented the hope that every cent counted, every little effort mattered, and every contribution could help rebuild the nation. Because of this, collecting coins from that period isn't just about money, it's about preserving a piece of history. When you hold a 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny in your hand, you're literally holding a slice of the past. Imagine the stories it could tell. Maybe it was used to buy a loaf of bread, a postage stamp, or even a newspaper headline announcing the attack on Pearl Harbor later that same year. That emotional and historical connection is one of the reasons collectors are willing to pay such incredible amounts for coins in top condition. It's not just about the metal, it's about the meaning behind it. Another fascinating detail lies in the coin's composition. The 1941 penny was made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a composition that would soon change during the war years. As copper became vital for ammunition and military wiring, the U.S. Mint had to adapt. By 1943, the famous steel penny was introduced to conserve copper for the war effort. That makes the 1941 penny one of the last true copper cents before this major shift, adding even more value to its place in American numismatic history. Now, imagine for a moment that you stumble upon an old jar of coins that's been sitting in your grandparents' attic for decades. You pour them out onto a table, and among the tarnished nickels and dimes, a 1941 Lincoln penny catches your eye. It's got no mint mark. You give it a closer look, the color, the shine, the details all seem sharper than usual. Your heart starts to race. Could it be? Could this tiny coin be worth a life-changing amount? Many lucky finders have experienced just that. Over the years, rare 1941 no-mint mark pennies have surfaced in coin collections, estate sales, and even pocket change, shocking collectors with their unexpected worth. When graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, high-quality specimens in mint state condition have been auctioned for astonishing amounts. So how do you know if your 1941 penny is valuable? The first step is to examine it closely under good lighting. Look for any doubling in the date or letters, check for strong detail on Lincoln's face and hair, and inspect the wheat stalks on the reverse side. If it looks unusually crisp or has a unique error, it's definitely worth getting appraised. Next, avoid cleaning your coin. Many beginners make the mistake of polishing or scrubbing their coins to make them shine, but that actually reduces the value dramatically. Collectors prefer coins in their natural state, even if they look dull or dirty. A professional grader can determine its true condition and assign it a grade that determines its value in the market. Once you've confirmed your penny's authenticity and condition, you can either choose to hold onto it as a collector's piece, letting its value increase over time, or sell it at auction. There are specialized coin auctions and online marketplaces where collectors compete to own these rare gems. So, how much can a 1941 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny be worth in today's market? The answer depends on several factors, but here's what's most incredible. In lower grades, these coins might bring just a few dollars. However, in top mint state condition with full red luster and zero imperfections, this unassuming penny has sold for a breathtaking $56,355. Think about that for a moment. A single 1-cent coin, originally worth a penny, now valued at over $56,000. It's proof that hidden treasures can still be found in the most unexpected places. So before you toss aside that handful of change, take a moment to look closer. You might just be holding a rare piece of American history, a 1941 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny that could change your life. Welcome back to World Information HD, the place where history, mystery, and money meet. Today, we're diving deep into a story that begins in the early 1940s, a time when the world was engulfed in war and every piece of metal mattered. But little did anyone know, one small copper coin minted in 1942, a humble Lincoln Wheat Penny bearing the D mint mark, would one day capture the attention of coin collectors and treasure hunters across the globe. This isn't just any coin. This is a piece of American history, a symbol of a nation at war, a country enduring rationing, and a people saving every scrap of metal they could find. Yet, somehow, amid this chaos, a few rare and exceptional 1942 Lincoln Wheat Pennies slipped into circulation, coins that, decades later, would become worth a small fortune. So grab your magnifying glass and your old coin jar, because by the end of this video, you might find out that one of the rarest treasures in American coinage could be sitting right inside your home. Let's begin with a journey back in time. The year 1942. The United States was knee-deep in World War II. Factories that once made cars were now making tanks, and copper, a vital material for ammunition and equipment, was being hoarded by the government. Every piece of copper counted, and the U.S. Mint knew it. The Lincoln Wheat Penny, which had been made of nearly pure copper since 1909, was about to undergo a massive transformation. But before the change, in 1942, the Denver Mint, marked by the small d beneath the date, produced millions of these copper cents. Yet, not all 1942 pennies are created equal. Some of them, through a combination of minting errors, rare die varieties, and near-perfect preservation, have become some of the most sought-after coins in American numismatic history. To understand why, we have to look closely at the details, the things most people overlook. The obverse side, the front of the coin, features the familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. The words, "In God We Trust," curve above his head, while "Liberty" sits to his left. To his right, the date 1942 is engraved, with the small d mint mark just below it, signifying that it was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. On the reverse side, you'll find the simple but iconic wheat ears, one on each side, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. Above them, the motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many one, completes the design. It's clean, powerful, and timeless, a design that still speaks to American pride and unity. But what makes the 1942 penny truly fascinating isn't just its appearance, it's the story behind its creation. You see, 1942 was the last full year that the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln cents entirely from copper before switching to zinc-coated steel in 1943. Because of that, the 1942 pennies were the last of an era, the final copper warriors before the metallic change driven by wartime necessity. Collectors love these transitional year coins because they mark a historic turning point, and as any collector knows, history adds value. But that's not all. Among the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Pennies, there are several die varieties and minting errors that make specific examples incredibly rare. Some coins were struck using worn or misaligned dies, creating double die errors where the letters and numbers appear slightly doubled. Others were struck on planchets, blank metal discs, that weren't supposed to be used for pennies at all. Imagine this: a 1942 penny struck on a silver dime planchet, or even on a foreign coin blank meant for use in another country. These mistakes happened occasionally during high-pressure wartime production when the mint was operating around the clock. Workers were exhausted, and quality control sometimes slipped. Those rare mint errors are like hidden treasures in the coin world, anomalies that tell a story of human error, wartime urgency, and the unpredictable nature of mass production. And when one of these rare errors surfaces, collectors are willing to pay thousands, even tens of thousands, to own it. But even a regular 1942 penny can be worth far more than its face value, if it's in the right condition. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from poor all the way to mint state. A penny that's been in circulation, showing scratches, wear, and loss of detail, might only be worth a few cents or a few dollars. But a coin that has been preserved perfectly, no scratches, no discoloration, no handling marks, can fetch unbelievable prices. Imagine a coin struck over 80 years ago still looking as fresh as the day it left the mint, with sharp details on Lincoln's face, full wheat stalks on the reverse, and a deep, lustrous shine. That's what collectors dream about. Now let's talk about the human side of this story. the people who've discovered these coins in the most unexpected places. There are stories of coin hunters finding near-mint 1942 pennies tucked away in old cigar boxes, coin rolls, or even forgotten piggy banks. One collector in Kansas reportedly found a pristine example mixed in with a batch of ordinary wheat pennies he bought at a flea market for just a few dollars. After getting it graded, the coin turned out to be worth a small fortune. Another story comes from an elderly man who inherited his father's coin collection. Among dozens of ordinary Lincoln cents, there it was, a 1942 in exceptional condition, gleaming under the light after decades in storage. When appraised, it shocked everyone with its value. Stories like these remind us that treasures still hide in plain sight, waiting for the right person to notice them. But what gives these coins such immense worth? The answer lies in three factors: rarity, demand, and preservation. Rarity refers to how few of these coins exist today in top condition. Most 1942 pennies were used in everyday commerce, passed from hand to hand, worn down, and eventually replaced. Only a handful have survived in pristine, untouched condition. Demand comes from collectors who specialize in Lincoln wheat cents. The series is one of the most beloved in U.S. coinage history, and completing a full set of every date and mint mark is a challenge that drives collectors wild. And preservation, that's where the magic happens. A 1942 penny graded by experts as MS67 red, meaning mint state with full original red luster, is a true gem. Coins like these stand as perfect examples of craftsmanship and history, and collectors are willing to pay extraordinary prices to add them to their collections. Let's also not forget the emotional value behind these coins. For many, the Lincoln Wheat Penny represents more than just currency. It's a reminder of America's resilience, of a time when even the smallest coin carried patriotic pride. Each penny told a story of sacrifice and unity during one of the most challenging times in human history. When you hold one in your hand, you're not just holding a piece of metal, you're holding a fragment of 1942, a time when people worked tirelessly to support their country, when every resource mattered, and when craftsmanship was still deeply human. So, what should you do if you find a 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny in your possession? First, handle it carefully. Never clean it, polish it, or rub it. Cleaning can destroy a coin's natural surface and drastically reduce its value. Next, look closely at its details. Is the mint mark clearly visible? Are the letters crisp? Does it still have its red luster? If so, you may want to have it professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC. Once graded, you'll know exactly where your coin stands on the value scale, and you might be surprised by how much it's worth. Even lightly circulated examples can sell for more than you'd expect, especially if they have interesting die varieties or unique toning. And for those in perfect condition, the sky is the limit. These coins aren't just metal, they're time capsules. Each 1942 wheat penny that survives today carries the weight of history, forged in an era of uncertainty, minted by hands that worked tirelessly for freedom, and preserved by chance for future generations to admire. So next time you come across an old jar of pennies, take a moment to look closer. Because you never know, that ordinary-looking coin could be a treasure that connects you to a forgotten past and a story of American strength and perseverance. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. The highest recorded value for a 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny in exceptional, mint state condition reached an astonishing $67,366. Yes, you heard that right. One small copper coin. Worth over $67,000. So check your change, search your drawers, and look through those old collections, because history might just be hiding in the palm of your hand. Thank you for watching World Information HD. Welcome to World Information HD. Today, we're diving deep into the story of one of the most fascinating coins ever struck by the United States Mint, the 1942 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny. This small piece of copper, often sitting unnoticed in old drawers or dusty jars, holds a history richer than you might ever imagine. And if you think ordinary pennies aren't worth a second glance, today's video will change your mind forever. Because one tiny coin from 1942, if you happen to have the right one, could make you wealthier than you think. Let's explore the story, history, and hidden value behind the 1942 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Cent, a coin that has amazed collectors and treasure hunters for decades. In 1942, the world was engulfed in the flames of World War II. The United States was fully involved, and resources like copper were essential for producing ammunition, artillery shells, and other military supplies. Every metal counted, every ounce mattered. Yet, the U.S. Mint continued to strike millions of Lincoln Wheat Pennies using copper during that time, unaware that within just a year, the material would be changed forever. The Lincoln Wheat Penny, first introduced in 1909, had already become one of America's most beloved coins. It carried the profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, and its reverse side featured two simple yet powerful wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent. For over 3 decades, this design symbolized honesty, hard work, and American pride. But in 1942, the nation stood at a crossroads, and that year's penny reflected the tension between everyday life and a world at war. Let's talk about the minting process and the mysterious no mint mark variation. When you look at most coins, you'll notice a small letter under the year, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or sometimes no letter at all. The absence of a mint mark means the coin was struck at the main U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. The 1942 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny, therefore, was minted right in the heart of the American coinage system, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But what makes it so fascinating is not just where it was minted, but how it survived the passage of time. You see, 1942 was one of the last years before the mint switched materials. In 1943, the pennies were made of steel coated with zinc due to wartime copper shortages. So, the 1942 copper penny represents the final chapter of a pre-war era, a time capsule of American history preserved in metal form. Now, let's talk about rarity, because that's where things get truly interesting. In 1942, over 657 million pennies were produced in Philadelphia alone. So, how can something made in such large numbers become rare or valuable? The answer lies in condition, die varieties, and errors. Collectors pay close attention to small imperfections or differences that occurred during minting, things like doubled dies, repunch dates, off-center strikes, or planchet flaws. These errors often make an otherwise common coin incredibly valuable. Some 1942 pennies show doubling on the date, or the motto, "In God We Trust." Others were accidentally struck on leftover foreign planchets, metal discs intended for other countries' coins but mistakenly used in the U.S. mint presses. Such unusual pieces have become legendary among coin experts. Imagine finding a coin that looks ordinary but upon closer inspection reveals tiny, microscopic details that turn it into a numismatic treasure. That's the magic of the 1942 no-mint mark Lincoln Penny. Let's take a closer look at its design. Because every curve, every letter tells a story. On the obverse, you'll find the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, sculpted with incredible detail. The words, "In God We Trust," arch above his head, liberty rests on the left, and the date, 1942, stands proudly on the right. Flip it over, and the reverse side greets you with 1 cent, framed by 2 wheat ears, along with the inscription, E pluribus unum, Latin for, out of many one. These design elements have made the wheat penny one of the most recognizable coins in the world. For generations, kids have found these coins in change, collectors have chased rare variations, and historians have admired the way it bridges art and patriotism. But here's where things start to get even more interesting, because not all 1942 pennies are equal. The average circulated 1942 no-mint mark penny might only fetch a few cents or $1. But as the condition improves, the price climbs dramatically. Coins graded mint state, especially those certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on color, luster, and strike quality. And if you happen to have one in pristine condition, with full original red luster, sharp details, and virtually no marks, you might be holding something extraordinary. Collectors categorize copper pennies into 3 main color designations: brown, BN, red-brown, RB, and red, RD. A fully red 1942 penny is the hardest to find, because copper naturally tones over time. That's why finding one in brilliant red, untarnished condition, is like uncovering a piece of pure history. The fascination doesn't stop there. The year 1942 is filled with small mysteries and subtle differences that make certain coins worth huge amounts. Some examples show signs of die cracks, lines caused by worn or damaged dies. Others have lamination errors, where the metal surface peels or splits slightly, creating unique textures. Each of these imperfections tells the story of how the mint struggled to maintain precision during the intense production period of the war years. Collectors treasure these details because they capture a moment in time, a story of craftsmanship meeting chaos. If you've ever inherited a coin collection from an older family member, there's a good chance you might have a few wheat pennies tucked away. And among them, there could be a 1942 no-mint mark piece waiting to be rediscovered. The secret lies in condition, rarity, and sometimes luck. Now imagine this: you're at a flea market or an estate sale. You spot a small jar filled with old coins for a few dollars. Among them, you notice an old copper penny with the date 1942. You take it home, clean it carefully, though collectors prefer leaving coins untouched, and under a magnifying glass, you notice that the coin looks unusually sharp and untouched by time. You check it online, maybe even send it to a grading service. A few weeks later, the result comes back: mint state, full red luster, perfectly struck. That single penny that cost you less than a cup of coffee might now be worth more than a brand new car. It's stories like these that fuel the passion of coin collectors across the world. The thrill of the hunt, the excitement of discovery, and the beauty of preserving history, all wrapped into one small piece of copper. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series, especially those from the early 1940s, continues to inspire new generations of collectors. The designs may have changed over time, but the sense of nostalgia remains. Each coin represents a fragment of America's story, from the struggles of the Great Depression to the sacrifices of World War II. The 1942 no-mint mark penny, in particular, stands as a symbol of endurance. It survived a world at war, the transition to steel in 1943, and the eventual return to copper alloys after the war ended. It's more than just a coin, it's a silent witness to history. So, if you ever find a 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny in your possession, don't dismiss it as pocket change. Take a closer look. Study its surface. Check for mint errors, doubling, or brilliant color. You might be surprised at what you discover. In the end, collecting coins isn't just about money. It's about curiosity, passion, and the joy of uncovering hidden gems from the past. Every collector starts with a single coin, maybe one found in a handful of change, or passed down from a grandparent, and from there, the fascination grows. The 1942 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny is a perfect example of how history and value meet in one small object. It's a coin that whispers tales of wartime America, of craftsmanship, and of a simpler yet stronger nation. And while many 1942 pennies are still circulating in old collections or forgotten boxes, there are a few, incredibly rare, perfectly preserved, and highly sought after, that have shocked the numismatic world with their value. Yes, one such 1942 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny, in perfect condition, has sold for an astounding $55,376. So next time you come across an old penny, don't let its size fool you. That small piece of metal could hold a story, a legacy, and maybe even a fortune. Keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, you might be the next person to discover a rare treasure hiding in plain sight. Thanks for watching World Information HD, where every coin tells a story, and every story could change your life. Welcome to World Information HD, where knowledge meets discovery, and where small coins can turn into massive fortunes. Today, we're diving deep into one of America's most fascinating and collectible treasures, the 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny. This little copper coin, often hiding in old drawers or tucked away in dusty jars, could be worth far more than you imagine. So stay tuned till the very end, because by the time we reveal its true value, you might find yourself searching every penny you've ever owned. Let's take a trip back in time, to the year 1944. The world was in the midst of World War II. Factories across the United States were focused on war production: tanks, ammunition, aircraft parts, and steel. Every resource mattered. The U.S. Mint had to make crucial changes in coin production due to metal shortages. Just a year earlier, in 1943, pennies were struck from steel coated with zinc instead of copper. That's right, the famous 1943 steel cent. The government needed copper for ammunition shell casings and electrical wiring for the war effort, so it was temporarily removed from penny production. But as the war progressed, in 1944, the mint decided to bring back the copper penny. However, there was a twist: they didn't use fresh copper. Instead, they recycled used ammunition shell casings from military training grounds and battlefields. These shell casings were melted down and turned into planchets, the blank discs used to strike pennies. So, every 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny you see has a bit of history in it, quite literally forged from the remnants of war. The 1944 penny design features President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, the front, facing right. His portrait, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, had already become an American classic. Around Lincoln's head, you'll find the familiar inscriptions: "In God We Trust." Along the top, "Liberty" on the left, and the date, 1944, on the right. The reverse side, or back, carries the famous wheat ears design, two curved stalks of wheat framing the words, 1 cent, in large letters at the center. Above, it reads, E pluribus unum, and below, United States of America. At first glance, the 1944 penny may look like any other old coin, but here's where it gets interesting. The details of mint marks and metal composition make all the difference between an ordinary cent and one worth thousands. The no mint mark 1944 penny was produced in Philadelphia, as the Philadelphia Mint traditionally did not use a mint mark during that time. In 1944 alone, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 1.4 billion pennies. With that many made, you might assume all of them are common, but not quite. Within this massive production, there were small variations, rare errors, and unique metal mixes that have captured collectors' attention for decades. One of the most intriguing things about the 1944 no mint mark penny is the possibility of transitional errors. During the changeover from steel cents in 1943 to copper in 1944, a few leftover steel planchets from 1943 accidentally got mixed in with the 1944 production run. These rare errors, known as the 1944 steel cents, are among the most valuable coins in U.S. history, sometimes worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But even if your 1944 penny isn't made of steel, the regular copper versions can also hold significant value depending on condition, luster, and historical significance. Now, let's talk about the composition. The standard 1944 Lincoln Wheat penny was made from a mix of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, the familiar reddish-brown tone collectors love. Over time, depending on how it was stored, some of these coins developed a darker brown patina, while others retained a bright red finish. Coin grading experts, like those from the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, evaluate each penny carefully under magnification to assign grades. The higher the grade, the higher the value. A 1944 penny that has been heavily circulated, showing wear and dulling, might be worth only a few cents, maybe 10 or 20. But a coin in uncirculated condition, where all the fine details of Lincoln's hair and the wheat ears are crisp, can fetch dozens or even hundreds of dollars. And if you happen to have one that was struck sharply, with full original red luster and no scratches, you might be holding a small fortune. Imagine finding one in a roll of pennies, something you picked up at the bank for fun. Many collectors do exactly that. They buy boxes of coins, searching through thousands of pennies in hopes of spotting that one gleaming example from 1944 that looks just right. And believe it or not, people still find them in change to this day. So what makes the 1944 no mint mark penny stand out among collectors? It's the connection to history, its wartime backstory, and the pure nostalgia of that wheat design. Modern pennies, starting from 1959, switched to the Lincoln Memorial reverse, and later to the Union Shield design in 2010. But the wheat penny remains one of the most iconic and beloved coins in America. Collectors love them not just for their monetary worth but for the story they tell, a story of resourcefulness during wartime, of American industry, and of enduring design. The 1944 penny is often the first coin that gets young collectors hooked on numismatics, the study and collection of coins. Once they find one, they start learning about mint marks, grades, and errors, and before long, they're deep into the fascinating world of coin collecting. Now let's discuss something that every collector wants to know: how to tell if your 1944 penny is valuable. First, look for the mint mark. If your coin has no mint mark below the date, it was made in Philadelphia. If you see a small D, it's from Denver, and S means it was minted in San Francisco. The no mint mark version is the most common, but in high grades, it still brings solid value. Next, check the color. Coins are often graded by color: brown, and red. The redder the copper, the more it's worth. Red indicates that the coin retained its original luster without much oxidation, something that rarely happens after more than 80 years. Also, look for sharpness in the details. You should be able to see clear lines in Lincoln's hair, crisp edges in the wheat stalks, and defined lettering. Any wear or flattening reduces the grade and value, but sometimes even small minting errors, like double dies, off-center strikes, or die cracks, can make your coin unique and more valuable. Another key factor is eye appeal, the overall look of the coin. Some pennies just have that perfect glow, smooth tone, and strong strike that makes them pop out instantly to collectors and auctioneers. It's also important to know where to get your coin appraised. Always work with reputable grading companies like PCGS or NGC. Their certifications add legitimacy and can significantly boost a coin's market value. Online marketplaces like eBay or Heritage Auctions list many examples of 1944 pennies in various grades, so you can compare and understand what collectors are paying. If you ever come across a 1944 penny and wonder if it could be valuable, start by weighing it. A regular 1944 copper penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If yours weighs significantly less, closer to 2.7 grams, it could be a rare steel era coin, and that's when your heart should start racing. Because in that case, you might not just have a coin, you might have a piece of history worth a small fortune. For the rest of us, even owning a regular 1944 copper penny connects us to an incredible moment in time. Think of all the hands that could have held it: soldiers, factory workers, children buying candy at the corner store, families saving coins in jars as the war raged overseas. Every one of these pennies has a story that stretches back generations, and sometimes that story is worth far more than the face value printed on the coin. Some collectors have sold their pristine 1944 no mint mark Lincoln Wheat pennies at major coin auctions for impressive amounts, depending on grade and condition. The record sales for top-condition coins have left collectors speechless and motivated millions of people to check their old change once again. So before you toss that old penny aside or use it in a vending machine, take a closer look. Clean it carefully, though experts recommend never polishing or scrubbing it, as that can lower its value, and observe every small detail. Who knows? The coin that looks ordinary to you might be one that collectors are desperately searching for. The 1944 no mint mark Lincoln Wheat penny remains one of the most fascinating coins in American history, a symbol of resilience, artistry, and unexpected value. It proves that even the smallest things can carry immense worth, both in money and in meaning. And now, as promised, the most exciting part. Welcome back to World Information HD. In today's exciting video, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of American coin collecting and uncovering the hidden secrets behind one of the most intriguing coins in U.S. history, the 1945 no mint mark Lincoln Wheat penny. It may look like an ordinary copper cent, but as every serious coin collector knows, sometimes the most ordinary-looking pennies are the ones that can change your life forever. Before you toss that old penny back into your change jar, you need to know what to look for, because a single tiny detail could be the difference between a regular 1-cent coin and a small fortune. So sit back, relax, and get ready to discover the incredible story, the fascinating minting process, the history behind this coin, and the hidden factors that make the 1945 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny one of the most desirable coins in the collector's world. Let's begin our journey in the year 1945, a turning point not only in world history but also in the story of the U.S. Mint. World War II was coming to an end, and the United States was slowly recovering from years of war production and material shortages. During this time, the Mint was under immense pressure to continue producing enough coins for the growing economy while dealing with limited supplies of metal. This scarcity had already affected coinage a few years earlier. In 1943, the Lincoln cent was famously struck in steel instead of copper to save materials for the war effort. But by 1945, the Mint returned to using copper again, made primarily from recycled shell casings and leftover wartime materials. This gives the 1945 wheat penny a very special historical significance. Every time you hold one, you're literally holding a piece of history, a fragment of America's wartime resilience melted down and repurposed into a humble 1-cent coin. Now, what makes the 1945 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny stand out from others? The first thing to understand is that this no-mint mark version was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. During that era, Philadelphia coins typically did not carry a mint mark, unlike those from Denver or San Francisco. The lack of a mint mark might seem like a minor detail, but to collectors, it's an important clue to the coin's origin and authenticity. The 1945 penny features the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design had already become an American classic since its debut in 1909. On the reverse side, the coin proudly displays two wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This iconic wheat design is what gives the coin its nickname, the Wheat Penny. But don't be fooled by its ordinary appearance. Beneath that reddish-brown surface, there could be something truly extraordinary. Collectors look for tiny imperfections, errors, and variations that can turn this common coin into a rare and valuable treasure point. One of the most exciting features to look for is a die error or a double die strike. During the minting process, if the die shifts even slightly, the coin can receive a faint doubling effect, making the letters or numbers appear slightly blurred or shadowed. On a 1945 no-mint mark penny, doubling on the words, "Liberty in God We Trust," or the date itself can significantly boost its value. Another rare and highly sought-after variant is a coin struck on a faulty planchet, for example, one made of the wrong metal composition or one that's slightly off-center. These minting anomalies were rare but did occur, especially in the post-war years when the mint was reusing materials. If you ever come across a 1945 penny that looks different in color, weight, or texture, it's worth taking a closer look because you might just be holding a rare mint-era coin. Let's talk about condition, because when it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. The grading system used by numismatists, professional coin collectors, ranges from good all the way up to mint state. Most 1945 pennies found in circulation show wear from decades of handling, but those in pristine, uncirculated condition are rare and can command impressive prices. To the untrained eye, all old pennies might look the same, but experts look for fine details, sharp edges, clear lettering, and full luster, the natural shine of the coin that fades over time. If your 1945 penny still has its original reddish golden glow and minimal signs of wear, it could be far more valuable than you think. Interestingly, despite being produced in large quantities, over 1 billion coins, the 1945 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny has become a fascinating collectible because of its unique link to the end of World War II. It represents a transition from wartime scarcity to post-war prosperity, making it more than just a coin. It's a symbol of America's resilience and rebirth. Collectors love stories, and every coin tells one. Imagine the journey of a 1945 penny. It might have been used to buy a newspaper announcing the end of the war, or maybe it was tucked away in a soldier's pocket as a good luck charm. Some even believe that coins from this era carry a kind of historical energy, a tangible reminder of the courage and struggle of that time. For decades, coin hunters and treasure seekers have been scouring their change jars and old boxes looking for these historic cents. What they often find is that the smallest details, a clean surface, a sharp strike, or a minor error, can make the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth thousands. Let's dig a little deeper into what determines the true value of the 1945 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. There are 4 main factors: rarity, condition, demand, and historical importance. Rarity refers to how many high-quality specimens still exist. Even though millions were minted, only a small number have survived in exceptional condition. Condition speaks for itself. The less wear and damage, the higher the value. Demand depends on collector interest, and the 1945 penny remains one of the most desirable coins from the 1940s due to its rich backstory. Finally, historical importance adds emotional and cultural weight to the coin, which collectors deeply appreciate. Some collectors also pay close attention to the color tone. Copper coins can range from red-brown, to brown. A full red 1945 penny in mint condition is particularly prized, as it retains the bright luster of freshly struck copper. Now, you may be wondering, where can you find one of these coins? The good news is that 1945 Lincoln Wheat Pennies are still fairly common in old coin collections, estate sales, and even in pocket change. Some people have found them in inherited coin jars or tucked away in attic boxes. The trick is knowing what to look for and how to spot the right signs of value. If you ever come across a 1945 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, first check its surface for clarity and shine. Next, look closely at the date and lettering for any doubling or minting errors. If everything looks promising, it might be worth sending it to a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC to get an official grade. That grading certificate not only authenticates your coin but also dramatically increases its market value. Coin collectors around the world are fascinated by how something as small as a penny can tell such a powerful story about history, craftsmanship, and human perseverance. The 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny stands at that crossroads, born from the final fires of war, shaped by history, and preserved by collectors as a piece of Americana that refuses to fade away. Whether you're a beginner just starting your collection or a seasoned numismatist, the thrill of discovery never fades. The moment you spot that rare gleam in an old copper coin, your heart skips a beat, because you know that you might be holding a piece of treasure. So next time you're sorting through your change, remember, that ordinary penny could be anything but ordinary. Always take a closer look, because history hides in plain sight, and it just might be sitting in the palm of your hand. Now, here's the part you've been waiting for. In some of the most remarkable cases, a pristine, uncirculated 1945 no-mint Mark Lincoln Wheat Penny, one preserved in perfect condition and graded at the highest levels, has been sold for an astonishing $37,546. Yes, you heard that right, a single 1-cent coin. Worth $37,546. It's incredible to think that something so small, so ordinary, could carry such immense value, not just in money, but in the story it tells. So, check your coins carefully, because you never know when history and fortune might fall right into your hands. Thanks for watching World Information HD. The story of the United States of America 1946 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny is one that fascinates coin collectors, history lovers, and treasure hunters alike. When people hear about old coins, they often imagine dusty, forgotten pieces of copper that once passed from hand to hand during simpler times. But what if one of those small, humble coins could be worth thousands today? What if a penny in your pocket, or hidden inside an old jar in your attic, could be worth a small fortune? That's exactly the magic behind the 1946 no-mint Mark Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that may look ordinary at first glance, but carries a story of history, rarity, and incredible value. Let's begin by turning the clock back to the mid-1940s, a time when the world was recovering from the turmoil of World War II. The year 1946 was significant not only for its historical events but also for changes within the U.S. Mint. Millions of pennies were being struck to meet the demands of a nation moving forward after years of conflict. Copper was once again available for minting coins, replacing the steel composition used during the wartime years of 1943. These pennies weren't just small change, they represented the resilience of the American economy and the everyday hope of its citizens. The 1946 Lincoln Wheat Penny was part of this post-war revival. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this coin carried on the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the front side, a design first introduced in 1909 to mark Lincoln's 100th birthday. The reverse of the coin featured two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. These wheat stalks symbolized growth, prosperity, and the agricultural backbone of the nation. For decades, the wheat penny became a familiar sight in every American's pocket, a silent witness to the nation's evolving history. Now, you might be wondering, what makes the 1946 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny special compared to other pennies from the same era? The answer lies in the details, rarity, and condition. First, the no-mint mark simply means that the coin was minted in Philadelphia, one of the main branches of the United States Mint, which, at the time, did not place any mint mark on its coins. So, when you look at a 1946 penny and don't see a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco under the date, you're looking at a Philadelphia minted piece. While millions of these coins were made, only a small number have survived in pristine condition. Over time, most of these pennies circulated heavily, suffering scratches, dents, and discoloration from decades of use. But those few that have remained untouched, shining with their original red luster, are the true treasures collectors seek. Their sharp details, strong strike, and unblemished surfaces make them incredibly desirable to numismatists, the experts and enthusiasts who study and collect coins. Another interesting aspect of the 1946 Lincoln penny is its metal composition. It was made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, the standard composition for Lincoln wheat cents after World War II. But some collectors have come across unusual versions of this coin, where the metal mix was slightly off due to leftover wartime materials. These rare off-metal errors can increase a coin's value tremendously, as they offer a glimpse into the unpredictable nature of coin production during that era. Even small differences, such as a striking error or a double die feature, where the design appears to be slightly double due to a minting mistake, can make the value skyrocket. Imagine holding one of these rare 1946 no-mint mark wheat pennies in your hand. You might see small differences invisible to the casual observer, a sharper 6 in the date, slightly misaligned lettering, or deeper ridges along Lincoln's coat. These imperfections, born from the minting process itself, make each coin unique. Collectors value such distinctions, as they turn ordinary pieces of currency into individual works of art. Condition, of course, plays a crucial role. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state, with mint state coins being those that look almost exactly as they did when they left the mint nearly 80 years ago. The 1946 Lincoln penny in mint state red condition, glowing with its original reddish hue, can command incredible prices. Even lightly circulated coins, if they retain much of their detail, can still bring impressive amounts. But when the condition is near perfect, that's when the value truly becomes astonishing. It's also worth noting that the historical context of this coin adds emotional value for many collectors. The 1940s were a transformative decade for America. The war had ended, families were being reunited, and industries were booming. Every coin minted during this period holds a tangible connection to that optimism and post-war growth. People saved pennies in jars, gave them to children as keepsakes, or used them to pay for candy, newspapers, and other small items. Each one has a story, a whisper from history reminding us of the resilience of those who lived through one of the most defining eras in modern times. Today, the 1946 Lincoln Wheat Penny remains one of the most collected coins among beginners and experts alike. It represents a perfect entry point for new collectors because it's relatively easy to find in average condition, but extremely rewarding to discover in high grades. Searching through old change, coin rolls, or family collections can sometimes uncover a gem that has gone unnoticed for decades. That's part of the thrill, the excitement of never knowing when you might stumble upon a valuable coin hiding in plain sight. Many collectors also appreciate the beauty and symbolism of the wheat penny design itself. It's simple yet deeply American, combining the noble image of Abraham Lincoln with the symbolism of growth and hard work. The wheat reverse remained in use until 1958, when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design. That means every wheat penny, including the 1946 version, is a part of an era that ended long ago, making these coins increasingly desirable as the years go by. Over the decades, the market for rare and historical coins has continued to expand. Collectors around the world are willing to pay premium prices for coins that are both well-preserved and historically significant. The 1946 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny stands as a prime example of how even small, everyday objects can hold immense value when time, rarity, and condition come together. If you're lucky enough to find one of these coins in exceptional shape, bright, glossy, and free from heavy marks, you could be holding a small treasure. The key is to handle it carefully, store it in a protective holder, and if possible, have it professionally graded by a reputable grading service such as PCGS or NGC. A certified grade not only verifies authenticity but also can dramatically increase the coin's value on the collector's market. So, the next time you come across an old penny from the 1940s, take a closer look. Check for the absence of a mint mark under the date. Examine the shine, the details, and the overall condition. You never know, that tiny coin could be something extraordinary, a forgotten piece of American history waiting to reveal its true worth. From the moment it left the Philadelphia Mint in 1946, this penny has traveled through the hands of countless Americans, from soldiers returning home to factory workers, shopkeepers, and children spending their first allowance. Each one played a part in its journey. And now, decades later, collectors across the world recognize its importance not just as currency, but as a cherished artifact of a bygone era. It's remarkable how something as small and ordinary as a penny can connect generations, carrying within it the silent echoes of history. Whether you're a passionate numismatist or just someone who loves the thrill of discovery, the 1946 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny is proof that treasures can still be found in the most unexpected places. And for the lucky few who manage to uncover one of these pristine, untouched examples, the kind that still shines like the day it was struck, its value can reach an astonishing $29,999. Welcome back to World Information HD, the channel where rare coins, hidden treasures, and forgotten history come to life. Today, we're diving deep into the story of a coin that most people overlook, a small piece of copper that could be hiding right in your change jar. It's the 1950 mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that many collectors are still searching for because of its hidden value, its unique minting details, and its connection to a fascinating era in American history. So sit back, relax, and let's uncover everything you need to know about this incredible little coin, from its origin, design, historical background, errors, grading, and collector demand, all the way to how one example shocked everyone when it sold for over $31,000. Let's begin with the story behind the 1950s, a decade that reshaped America. The year 1950 was right after World War II, and the country was booming economically. People were hopeful, industries were growing, and coins were circulating faster than ever before. During this time, the U.S. Mint was producing millions of Lincoln Wheat Pennies to support the growing economy. But among those countless coins, the 1950 Wheat Penny minted in Denver became a silent standout. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint, which can be identified by the small D mint mark right below the date on the obverse side. At first glance, it looks like any other penny. But when you take a closer look, you realize how special it truly is. This coin carries the face of Abraham Lincoln, sculpted by Victor David Brenner, the same design that was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The reverse side features two wheat stalks surrounding the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, giving it the name Wheat Penny. It's simple, elegant, and filled with historical symbolism. Those wheat stalks represent prosperity, growth, and the nation's strength, ideals that deeply resonated with post-war America. Now, let's talk about production. The 1950 Wheat Penny had a mintage of around 334 million coins, which might make it seem common. But here's the twist. Even though there were so many made, only a small percentage were struck perfectly, and even fewer survived in pristine condition. Over time, most of these pennies were spent, circulated, scratched, and worn down. But the rare few that were kept safe, those shiny, untouched examples, are the ones that hold incredible value today. Collectors look for a combination of beauty, rarity, and preservation. So, when they find a 1950 penny that looks like it was just minted yesterday, with its full red luster shining under the light, it can be worth an unbelievable amount. But what makes this coin even more interesting are the era varieties that came out of the Denver Mint in 1950. During the minting process, machines sometimes misaligned the dies, doubled certain design elements, or struck coins multiple times. And these tiny mistakes created what are now known as mint errors, collector's gold in the coin world. Some 1950 wheat pennies have been found with D over D errors, also known as repunched mint marks. That means the D was punched into the die twice, slightly offset, creating a shadow-like appearance under magnification. These coins are extremely desirable among era collectors because no two are exactly alike. Each one tells its own minting story. Another rare variety is the 1950 double die obverse, where certain parts of the coin, like Lincoln's profile, the date, or the words, "In God We Trust," appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment of the dies. If you happen to find one of these coins in great condition, it could easily be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars to the right collector. But rarity isn't the only factor. Condition plays a massive role. The coin market operates heavily on grading. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, known as the Sheldon scale, where 70 represents a flawless coin with no marks visible even under magnification. For example, a 1950 wheat penny in good or fine condition, meaning it's heavily circulated and shows clear signs of wear, might only be worth a few cents. But if you move up to mint state, especially MS65 or higher, you enter a completely different world of value. That's where collectors compete fiercely to own these gleaming, untouched specimens. And then there are the red, RD, red-brown, RB, and brown, BN, color designations. Because these coins were made of copper, they naturally change color over time due to oxidation. A coin that still maintains its original red brilliance from the day it was struck is far more desirable than one that has darkened over decades. So, when you have a 1950 wheat penny in MS66 red condition, you're holding something extraordinary. It's not just an old penny, it's a preserved piece of American history, frozen in time. Let's also appreciate the artistic and historical side. Victor David Brenner's design of Lincoln was revolutionary. It was the first time a real person, a former president, appeared on a circulating U.S. coin. Before 1909, American coinage featured symbolic figures like Liberty. But Lincoln's portrait brought a human connection. It was meant to honor unity and moral courage during a time of great division in U.S. history. That emotional connection, combined with artistic detail, makes the Lincoln Wheat Penny one of the most collected coins ever produced. Now, fast forward to the modern collector's market. Coin collecting, or numismatics, has exploded in popularity. People are searching through their old jars, drawers, and boxes, hoping to find these hidden treasures. Shows, auctions, and online marketplaces are filled with passionate collectors trading stories and coins. And when a rare, high-grade example of a 1950 penny appears, the excitement is electric. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have witnessed incredible bidding wars over coins that look ordinary to most people. But under a magnifying glass, the sharp details, brilliant color, and preserved luster tell a different story, one of rarity, survival, and beauty. In one of these auctions, a single 1950 wheat penny in impeccable condition shocked everyone when it sold for an astonishing amount, proving that even a small cent can make a big impact in the collector's world. Now, how can you tell if your penny is valuable? Start by examining the coin closely. Look for the D mint mark below the date. That tells you it's from Denver. Then, check its condition. Does it still have a bright copper shine? Are the details in Lincoln's beard, hair, and coat crisp and well-defined? The sharper the details, the higher the grade. Next, look for any minting errors. Use a magnifying glass or coin loop to inspect for doubling, repunched mint marks, or die cracks. Even small details can mean big money. If you believe your coin is in excellent condition, consider sending it to a professional grading service like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. Once graded, your coin will receive an official certification and be sealed in a protective holder. This not only protects it but also boosts its value when selling. Collectors always pay more for coins that have been authenticated and graded by trusted services. It's like having an official guarantee of your coin's quality and rarity. It's also fascinating to note how many people have found fortune in their coin collections. Stories of people discovering rare wheat pennies in old coffee cans or inherited boxes are surprisingly common. Sometimes these humble coins end up paying off college tuition, mortgage payments, or even retirement dreams. So, if you have a 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny, don't ignore it. Treat it with care, store it properly, and consider getting it appraised. You might be sitting on something that's worth more than you think. To summarize, this coin represents far more than just 1 cent of American currency. It tells a story of craftsmanship, history, resilience, and the enduring appeal of collecting. It reminds us that even the smallest things can hold tremendous value, both financially and historically. And now, for the part you've been waiting for, how much could a 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny really be worth in today's market? Well, while most circulated examples might only bring a few cents to a few dollars, one extraordinary, perfectly preserved 1950 wheat penny, graded at the highest level, once sold for an unbelievable $31,773. Yes, you heard that right. A simple copper penny from 1950, carrying a small D below its date, ended up being worth over $31,000. So, always check your change, your old jars, and your family coin collections, because that tiny piece of history might just turn into your next treasure. Thanks for watching World Information HD. Welcome back to World Information HD, where today we're diving deep into another incredible treasure that could be hiding right in your loose change. A coin that might seem ordinary at first glance, yet could be worth a fortune if you know what to look for. Imagine finding a small brown coin from the 1950s, one you've probably ignored 1,000 times. But what if that old penny in your drawer, the one without a mint mark, could change your life forever? Let's uncover the hidden story of the United States of America 1950 no mint mark Lincoln 1 cent wheat penny, a coin rich with history, mystery, and the potential for an unbelievable payday. The year was 1950. America was emerging from the shadows of World War II and entering a new era of prosperity. The economy was booming, factories were humming, and families across the country were buying their first cars, televisions, and new homes. Yet in the midst of all this progress, tiny copper coins continued to circulate, quietly linking the everyday American to the nation's past. Among these coins was the Lincoln Wheat Penny, one of the most iconic coins ever minted by the United States. The 1950 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the oldest and most historic mint in America. Unlike coins made in Denver or San Francisco, Philadelphia coins carried no mint mark, which is why this particular penny simply shows the year, 1950, beneath Abraham Lincoln's profile with no letter underneath it. But don't let that simplicity fool you. Within this humble coin lies a story that fascinates collectors and historians alike. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln Wheat Penny was introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Its design was revolutionary. It was the first U.S. coin to feature the likeness of a real historical figure rather than symbolic imagery. On the front, we see the dignified bust of Lincoln, gazing forward with calm confidence. On the reverse, 2 wheat stalks curve upward on each side, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. It was simple, elegant, and patriotic, a design that remained in production for half a century. By 1950, the wheat penny had already seen decades of circulation. Yet not all 1950 pennies were created equal. While millions were minted that year, some came out with unique errors, slight imperfections, or features that made them incredibly rare, and it's these little differences that make coin collectors' hearts race. the Philadelphia Mint produced over 272 million wheat pennies in 1950, which sounds like a massive number. But here's where the magic happens: finding one in pristine, untouched condition, what collectors call mint state, is exceptionally difficult. Over the decades, most of these pennies were used, scratched, and worn down in everyday transactions. Very few survived in their original luster, making high-grade examples valuable beyond imagination. Let's talk about what makes the 1950 no-mint mark penny so special. To the untrained eye, it looks like any other old penny. But under close examination, the sharpness of the details, the brightness of the copper-red tone, and the lack of contact marks can transform it from a common cent into a collector's dream. A coin preserved in such flawless condition could be worth thousands of dollars today. Collectors also look for unique characteristics known as die errors. These can include double die obverse, off-center strikes, or even slight misalignments in the lettering. For example, a 1950 penny with doubling on the date or the motto, "In God We Trust," can bring in a substantial premium at auction. Even tiny imperfections that occurred during the minting process can turn an ordinary coin into a rare treasure. What's particularly intriguing about the 1950 no-mint mark penny is how it sits in American history. Think about it: every coin carries with it a snapshot of the era it was made in. This was a time of change, hope, and optimism. The Korean War was on the horizon, television was becoming a household staple, and the baby boom was reshaping the country. Holding a coin from 1950 is like holding a piece of that transformative era in your hand. Now, let's talk about the market for these coins. In recent years, collectors have shown renewed interest in mid-20th century wheat pennies, especially those from Philadelphia. The demand has been steadily increasing, as more people begin to appreciate the beauty and historical importance of these simple copper coins. What was once worth a single cent now commands hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on its condition and rarity. If you happen to find a 1950 penny, the first thing you should do is check for that mint mark. If there's no letter below the date, you're holding the Philadelphia version. Next, examine the coin's condition. If it still has a bright, copper-red shine and sharp details on Lincoln's face, it may be worth far more than you think. Coins that are uncirculated, meaning they've never been used in daily transactions, are the true treasures. Another thing to keep in mind is that the value of coins like this often depends on the collector's market and grading systems used by professional organizations like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. These organizations carefully examine each coin under magnification and assign it a grade based on its condition, from well-worn to mint-state perfection. A difference of just one grade can mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars in value. Some collectors have discovered these coins tucked away in old jars, inherited coin albums, or forgotten bank rolls. Imagine finding a 1950 no-mint mark penny hidden in an attic or inside an old family box, a tiny piece of copper that's been quietly waiting for decades. That's the thrill of coin collecting, the sense that history might literally be sitting in your hands, ready to tell its story. So what exactly makes one particular 1950 no-mint mark penny worth more than another? It comes down to three main factors: rarity, condition, and demand. Rare varieties with minting errors are always highly sought after. Condition is everything. The fewer marks or discolorations a coin has, the higher its value climbs. And finally, demand from collectors drives prices upward as more people seek to complete their Lincoln Wheat Penny sets. Interestingly, copper composition plays a part in its allure as well. The 1950 penny was made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a mix that gives it that warm, reddish tone. Over time, oxidation can darken the surface, but coins that retain their bright copper luster are considered far more desirable. The Lincoln Wheat series officially ended in 1958, replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse in 1959. That means the 1950 penny comes from the final chapter of a historic design era. It's a coin that bridges America's post-war optimism with the dawn of modern numismatics. If you're lucky enough to find one, keep it safe. Store it in a protective holder, away from humidity and direct sunlight. Never clean an old coin. Doing so can drastically reduce its value. Instead, have it evaluated by a professional coin dealer or grading service. You might be surprised at what you learn. Collectors all over the world are paying attention to these coins more than ever before. Online auctions have seen record prices for high-quality wheat pennies, and each year, new discoveries continue to make headlines. It's proof that even the smallest details in a coin's history can turn an overlooked penny into a priceless artifact. From the moment it left the Philadelphia Mint in 1950, this humble 1-cent coin has traveled through countless hands, from shopkeepers to soldiers, from children's piggy banks to collectors' vaults. It has witnessed 75 years of American history, carrying with it a story of resilience, craftsmanship, and hidden wealth. So, the next time you go through your coin jar, take a closer look. That brown, worn-out penny might just be something extraordinary. Underneath its dull surface could lie a fortune waiting to be discovered. Because the United States of America 1950 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, that small piece of copper history, has been known to sell for as much as $45,992. Welcome back to World Information HD, your trusted channel for the most fascinating stories about rare and valuable coins from around the world. Today, we're diving deep into the captivating history, mystery, and true collector's value of one particular coin that could be hiding right inside your pocket change, the United States of America 1951 D mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. You may have seen this little brown coin countless times before, but what if I told you that one small variation in its design, one unique flaw in its striking, or one preserved in perfect condition could make this humble penny worth a fortune? Stay with us until the very end, because you'll be amazed to learn the real value that collectors have paid for this tiny piece of copper history. Let's begin with the fascinating story behind it. The year was 1951, a time when the United States was entering a new post-war era. The economy was growing, the streets were buzzing with optimism, and the American Mint was operating at full capacity. In that same year, the Denver Mint, marked with the letter D, produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln wheat cents. These coins, designed by Victor David Brenner, carried the famous portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, a design that first appeared in 1909 and has since become one of the longest-running coin portraits in U.S. history. But not all 1951 D Lincoln wheat pennies are created equal. While most were struck for everyday use, a few were made under unusual circumstances, leading to slight variations in strike quality, coloration, and even minting errors, all of which dramatically affect their value today. The coin itself is made from an alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it that warm, reddish-brown tone that collectors love. Over time, exposure to air, moisture, and circulation changes the color of the coin from bright red to a darker brown, or even a deep chocolate tone. The richer and redder the color, the more valuable it tends to be in collector circles. Now, let's talk about the D mint mark, this tiny letter located just below the date on the front of the coin. The D stands for the Denver Mint in Colorado, one of the main facilities that produced coins for general circulation. That year, the Denver Mint struck an impressive total of over 625 million Lincoln cents. But here's where it gets interesting. While most of these coins are common in circulated condition, uncirculated examples and those with unique features are incredibly rare and valuable. You see, minting coins in such large quantities often results in subtle differences, slight misalignments, double strikes, off-center impressions, or even die cracks. To the average person, these errors may go unnoticed. But to collectors, they are golden opportunities. A single coin with the right kind of minting error or preserved in pristine condition can fetch extraordinary prices in the numismatic market. Imagine finding a 1951 D penny in near-perfect mint state condition, with its original red luster shining just like it did the day it left the mint. Such coins are not only beautiful but also extremely rare. Collectors refer to these as MS, graded coins, short for mint state. The grading scale goes from MS60 to MS70, with MS70 representing a flawless example. Coins graded MS67 or above from this year are considered treasures. Over the decades, the Lincoln Wheat Penny has become one of the most popular coins to collect in the United States. Its simple yet iconic design, the proud face of Abraham Lincoln on one side and the two wheat stalks framing the words, 1 cent, on the reverse, has captivated generations of collectors. The wheat ears symbolize prosperity and hard work, two values deeply rooted in American identity. And for many, owning a rare or high-quality example of this coin is like holding a piece of living history. What's particularly interesting about the 1951 D penny is that it comes from the final stretch of the wheat penny era. By 1958, the U.S. Mint would replace the wheat design with the Lincoln Memorial reverse. That means each wheat penny from the early 1950s represents one of the last true, classic, Lincoln cents, a fact that only adds to their nostalgic appeal and collectible importance. But the real thrill comes from the possibility of finding one of these coins in an unexpected place. Many people have discovered rare pennies in old jars, coin rolls, and even in forgotten family collections. Some have been passed down for generations without anyone realizing their potential worth. So before you toss that old penny aside, take a closer look. You might be holding a miniature fortune in your hand. Let's talk about what affects the value of your 1951 D Lincoln penny today. There are a few key factors: condition, rarity, and errors. First, condition is everything. A coin in poor shape, worn down by decades of circulation, might only be worth a few cents. But a coin that has been carefully preserved, showing full details and a bright red surface, can be worth hundreds, sometimes thousands, of dollars. Collectors often prefer coins that are red RD, meaning they have maintained their original copper shine. Those graded as red-brown, RB, or brown, BN, are still collectible, but usually worth less. Next comes rarity. Even though the 1951 D had a large mintage, few examples have survived in perfect condition. Many were spent, lost, or damaged over time. Coins that remain in high-grade condition, especially those that have been professionally graded by services like PCGS or NGC, command top dollar. Then we have errors and varieties. These are the real gems. Collectors go crazy for pennies with doubling on the date or mint mark, known as a doubled die, off-center strikes, or repunched mint marks. For example, a 1951 D penny with a clear repunched mint mark, where the D appears to have been struck twice slightly off alignment, can bring in a premium. Even minor errors like die cracks or clipped planchets can make the coin more valuable. And don't forget about toning, that natural rainbow-like coloration that sometimes appears on old copper coins. Depending on how it formed, attractive toning can significantly increase a coin's desirability. Some 1951 D wheat pennies display beautiful shades of blue, purple, or gold that make them stand out in any collection. Now, picture this: you're at a local flea market or garage sale, and you come across a small coin album. Inside, you notice an old 1951 penny with a tiny D beneath the date. You might think it's just another common coin from mid-century America, but if it happens to be an uncirculated, bright red specimen, you could be holding something far more special than you think. Collectors and investors alike have paid astonishing amounts for well-preserved coins like these. The beauty of coin collecting is that sometimes, luck favors the patient and observant. It only takes one rare find to change your fortune. Throughout the years, many examples of the 1951 D wheat penny have been sold at auctions, each achieving impressive prices based on their grade and condition. In lower circulated grades, they might fetch a modest sum. But those graded in the upper mint states, MS66 or MS67 with a red designation, have reached record-breaking amounts. Every tiny detail, from the sharpness of Lincoln's beard to the clarity of the wheat stalks, contributes to its ultimate value. The thrill of coin hunting lies in discovery, the possibility that a forgotten coin in a drawer or a box of old change might be worth more than anyone could imagine. That's the magic of numismatics, turning ordinary objects into extraordinary treasures of history, art, and value. So, what should you do if you find a 1951 D Lincoln penny? The first step is to handle it carefully, always by the edges, never the face. Then, check its condition under a bright light. If it looks uncirculated or has an unusual appearance, it's worth having it evaluated by a professional coin grading service. You never know, your penny could be one of the rare, high-grade survivors that collectors are desperate to own. Every coin tells a story of the time it was made, the people who used it, and the generations who passed it along. The 1951 VDB Wheat Penny is a perfect example of how something so small can carry such a big piece of history. Whether it's the craftsmanship of the mint, the enduring image of Abraham Lincoln, or the warm glow of aged copper, it's more than just a coin. It's a symbol of American perseverance, tradition, and hidden value. And here's the most astonishing part. One rare and perfect 1951 VDB Lincoln Wheat Penny has been sold for an incredible $37,466. Yes, you heard that right. A single small copper penny, once worth just 1 cent, reached a price of $37,466 in the collector's market.